नमस्कृत्य नरं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोन् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुलंगायते कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्यमीश्वरं। कथाञ्चन स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् विस्मृते विपरीतं स्यात् श्री चैतन्यं नमामि तं। हरे कृष्ण। So we have finished the new chapter today, which is Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord. Today we start this chapter. Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord. It's a long chapter. Let's see how long we are able to travel with this chapter. Exceptionally long chapter in this section. Okay, so please read the translations. Please read the translations.
Shri Sukdev Goswami said, "My dear King Parikshit, by his mystic power, the great sage Narada brought the dead son into the vision of all the lamenting relatives, and then he spoke as follows." Prabhu. Shri Narada Muni said, "O living entity, all good fortune unto you. Just see your father and mother.
What happened?
Just see your father and mother. All your friends and relatives are overwhelmed with grief because of your passing away. Because you died untimely and balance of your lifetime still remains. Therefore, you may recenter your body and enjoy the remainder of your life surrounded by your friends and relatives. Accept the royal throne and all the opulences given by your father. By the mystic power of Narad Muni, the living entity reentered his dead body for a short time and spoke in reply to Narad Muni's request. He said, according to the results of from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of the demigods, sometimes to the species of lower animals, sometimes among the vegetables, and sometimes to the human species. Therefore, in which birth were these my father and mother? Mother and father. No one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these two people as my parents?
A very pertinent question. We should very carefully think about this question. Okay, next, please read. Yes, please read.
Just as in this material world, which advances like a river that carries away the living entity, all people become friends, relatives, and enemies in due course of time. They also act neutrally. They meditate, they despise one another, and they act in many other relationships. Nonetheless, despite these various transactions, no one is permanently related.
Okay. Then he gives very nice analogy. One analogy, second analogy.
Yeah. Just as gold and other commodities are continually transferred from one place to another in due course of purchase and sale. So the living entity, as a result of his fruitive activities,
Happen.
the
Wanders
divinity
throughout the
wanders throughout the entire universe, being injected into various bodies in different species of life by one kind of father after another. A few living entities are born in the human species and others are born as animals. Although both are living entities, the relationships are impermanent. An animal may remain in the custody of a human being for some time, and then the same animal may be transferred to the possession of other human beings. As soon as the animal goes away, the former proprietor no longer has a sense of ownership. As long as the animal is in his possession, he certainly has an affinity for it. But as soon as the animal is sold, the affinity is lost.
Very simple. As soon as the animal is sold, the affinity is lost. A very practical point. There's also this very instructive story about this, that there was one businessman. He went out of his town and then he came back. And when he came back, he saw that his whole house was burning. And then he became very anxious that his house is burning. So therefore, he tried to call all his sons and then say, oh, please, this house is burning. Please stop it. Please put some water on this and do something about the house burning. Then his first son said, my dear father, please don't worry. We already sold this house. The neighbor was wanting this house, so he wanted to give a good rate. So we already sold this house. Then the father said, oh, it's okay. If the house is sold, it's fine. No problem. Immediately he became detached from the condition. He said, okay, no problem. Then the second son said, yeah, we sold the house, but we have still not signed the deed. Then next moment, he went into anxiety again. He said, oh, the deed is not signed. The house is burning. Hey, do something, do something, do something. Then the third son said that even though the deed is not signed, the neighbor already gave all the money to us. Then immediately he became relaxed. Oh, money is there with us. So then no problem. So how quickly this sense of proprietorship changes in this material world is a very instructive story. That how quickly the sense of proprietorship changes in this material world. That the same house is burning and the condition is same, but just a person takes ownership and then leaves ownership simply based on his mental concoction. So therefore, there's also another joke that two friends were going and then they met with one dacoit. And this dacoit was telling that, please, whatever money you have, you give it, otherwise I will kill you. Then one friend, he took out the money from his pocket and then he gave it to the other friend. My dear friend, you gave me 1,000 rupees loan. This is the right time to repay the loan. Please take this loan back. I'm repaying this loan too. And then this fellow doesn't know what to do because he's taking the money. He has to take the money. He's repaying the loan, but the dacoit will take the money. So this way, the sense of proprietorship in this material world is not constant. It's not permanent. It very quickly changes. But even though it very quickly changes, as long as the sense of proprietorship is there, that causes a lot of misery, unlimited amount of misery. Therefore, Ishopanishad is saying, Isavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tektena bhunjita madrida kaschasvidhanam. So that one should actually understand that Krishna is the supreme proprietor and he should not be too much worried. He should simply enjoy what comes as his quota, even knowing fully well that to whom it belongs to. He should be fully aware So he should not look at somebody else's quota and then say, oh, I like this quota. Or he should not be dissatisfied with his own quota. He should simply be satisfied with his quota. And even while accepting his quota, he should be fully aware that this is my quota, but it's actually belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the proper understanding of how proprietorship should be there in spiritual life. Sometime I hear in management in ISKCON that the proprietorship turns sand into gold. Sometimes I hear this more often, saying that oh, we should give proprietorship to devotees. They should feel it is their project. We should give them some proprietorship. They should own the project, and then they should do things. People say then proprietorship turns sand into gold. Yeah, it is true that proprietorship can turn sand into gold, but gold is also where Kali lives. So turning sand into gold is not a very good idea. So everything in ISKCON should be done for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And people should not think that unless I have proprietorship, unless I feel some ownership, I cannot do things efficiently. This is Rajoguna. We are not supposed to be in Rajoguna, because the attraction to gold is there in Rajoguna. But with attraction to gold also comes to attraction to opposite sex. Kanaka, then Kamini. So therefore, we should be very careful about these philosophies that proprietorship turns sand into gold. We should be very careful about these philosophies. We should actually do everything to our best of ability, because things are done to please Krishna. So therefore, we should do it to the best of ability. Things are done to please the spiritual master. Therefore, we should do it to the best of our ability. So we should be very careful about the sense of proprietorship. Okay, please continue.
Even though one living entity becomes connected with another because of a relationship based on bodies, actually it is the body that is born or lost, not the living entity. One should not accept that the living entity takes birth or dies. The living being actually has no relationship with so-called fathers and mothers. As long as he appears as the son of a certain father and mother as a result of his past fruitive activities, he has a connection with the body given by that father and mother. Thus, he falsely accepts himself as their son and acts affectionately. After he dies, however, the relationship is finished. Under these circumstances, one should not be falsely involved with jubilation and lamentation.
So one should not fail to perform one's duty. One's duty is to remain affectionate to children, to family members. One should not fail to perform that duty. But one should also be fully aware that the meaning of this affection is Krishna consciousness. One should be fully aware of this. There is no meaning to this affection with the family if there is no foundation of Krishna consciousness. We treat everybody affectionately and very nicely, especially our family members. Prabhupada says in Kuti Maharani prayers that the family members are the natural object of affection. Like when Kuti Maharani is saying that Sneha Pasam Imam Chindi Dridam Pandishu Vishnishu, in that purport, Prabhupada discusses that what is the basis of Krishna conscious affection in the family. It's a very nice discussion in the two verses, the next verse also, Tvaime Ananya Vishaya. So in those two verses purport, Prabhupada actually discusses what is the relevance of affection with family relationships based on the foundation of Krishna consciousness. So that's what we should have, that we should be well-wishers of our family, because of course they are our family, and we should try to make them Krishna conscious by our action, by our deeds, by our words. We should try to make them Krishna conscious. And our affection should be limited to that effort to make them Krishna conscious. That is a real affection. Otherwise, there's no real affection shown to them. But of course, that includes a broad way of dealing with them. Elders means with respect, and with proper culture. Youngsters means with love and compassion. There's a whole, and equals means without envy. There's a whole broad way of dealing with them. But that should be based on the foundation of Krishna consciousness. Okay, please read next.
The living entity is eternal and imperishable because he actually has no beginning and no end. He never takes birth or dies. He is the basic principle of all types of bodies, yet he does not belong to the bodily category. The living being is so sublime that he is equal in equality to the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, because he is extremely small, he is prone to be illusioned by the external energy. And thus he creates various bodies for himself according to his different desires. For this living entity, no one is dear, nor is anyone unfavorable. He makes no distinction between that which is his own and that which belongs to anyone else. He is one without a second. In other words, he is not affectionate, he is not affected by friends and enemies, well-wishers or mischief mongers. He is only an observer, a witness of the different qualities of men.
These are all very important instructions for us to maintain a proper uh, determination or disposition in wake of different changing circumstances in this material world. Why Vritrasura was having this disposition? Because he actually heard it from his own son, who was the small baby, who was induced to speak by the mystic power of Narad Muni. And that son, who was his great object of affection, that he was ready to die because his son died. He was more or less ready to die. And when that son, when he spoke this very important knowledge about self-realization, then Chitraketu, he actually woke up. It's like a getting up from a dream, or being shaken from a stupor. From a stupor. So, therefore, it's very important that we should take proper guidance of this knowledge, and by meditating on this, we'll be able to maintain proper disposition. Yeah, when we go through a lot of difficulty, then we'll be able to maintain proper disposition. Okay, continue, please.
The Supreme Lord, Atma, the creator of cause and effect, does not accept the happiness and distress that result from fruitive actions. He is completely independent of having to accept a material body. And because he has no material body, he is always neutral. The living entities, being part and parcel of the Lord, possess his qualities in a minute quantity. Therefore, one should not be affected by lamentation.
Okay.
Sri
Okay, next.
Sukdev Goswami continued.
Mm.
When the conditioned soul, Jiva, in the form of Maharaj Chitraketu's son, had spoken in this way and then left, Chitraketu and the other relatives of the dead son were all astonished. Thus, they cut off the shackles of their affection, which was due to their relationship with him, and gave up their lamentation.
Continue.
After the relatives had discharged their duties by performing the proper funeral ceremonies and burning the dead child's body, they gave up the affection that leads to illusion, lamentation, fear, and pain. Such affection is undoubtedly difficult to give up, but they gave it up very easily.
Mm.
Queen Kritadyuti's co-wives, who had poisoned the child, were very much ashamed, and they lost all their bodily luster. While lamenting, O king, they remembered the instructions of Angira and gave up their ambition to bear children. Following the directions of the Brahmanas, they went to the bank of the Yamuna, where they bathed and atoned for their sinful activities. Thus, enlightened by the instructions of the Brahmanas, Angira and Narada, King Chitraketu became fully aware of spiritual knowledge. As an elephant becomes free from a muddy reservoir of water, King Chitraketu came out of the dark well of family life. The king bathed in the water of the Yamuna, and according to prescribed duties, he offered oblations of water to the forefathers and demigods. Very gravely controlling his senses and mind, he then offered his respects and obeisances to the sons of Lord Brahma, Angira and Narad. Thereafter, being very much pleased with Chitraketu, who was a self-controlled devotee and surrendered soul, Narada, the most powerful sage, spoke to him the following transcendental instructions.
We'll stop here in the purports. Okay, please read.
This time, the living entity was supposed to have been the son of Maharaj Chitraketu and King and Queen Kritaditi, because according to the laws of nature, he had entered a body made by the king and queen. The living entity is the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because he wants to enjoy this material world, the Supreme Lord gives him a chance to enter various bodies. The living entity has no true relationship with the material body. He gets from his material father and mother. The body created by the so-called father and mother actually has nothing to do with its so-called creators.
Yeah. So therefore, one should only act according to one's duty. And one should be very keen to do one's duty. And then one should detach oneself when one's duty is completed. This is very important. So the duties differ according to one's varna and ashrama. The duties differ. But one should be very keen to do one's duty nicely and then be detached. Okay, please continue.
It is our practical experience in this material world that the same person who is one's friend today becomes one's enemy tomorrow. Chitraketu Maharaj was lamenting for his son, who was now dead. But he could have considered the situation otherwise. This living entity, he could have thought, was my enemy in my last life, and now, having appeared as my son, he is prematurely living just to give me pain and agony. As the material, as the modes of material nature, as the modes of material nature work, in illusion, we accept others as friends, enemies, sons, or fathers in terms of the reactions of different dealings under different conditions.
Yeah, so this is very interesting point, which Prabhupada brings up the purport, that the person who is so much our object of affection in this lifetime might actually be our enemy in the previous lifetime. And he becomes an object of affection and then he can give a lot of misery. So therefore, one should not be carried away by this affection, this misery, and this kind of things in this material world. One should be keen to do one's duty, and one should have favorable disposition towards everybody, and one should be keen to do one's duty. That's very important. That's very important. Sometimes when we hear such instructions, then people think that, oh, such instruction means we can actually, we don't have to worry about our duty. We can, because anyway, these people are not connected with me. So why should I do any duty for them? Now, that is actually the Jnani's way of looking at it. There are two types of renunciation. There's renunciation which comes from frustration of impersonal jnana, and there's renunciation which comes with the understanding of Krishna consciousness. In the renunciation which comes from the understanding of Krishna consciousness, that idea of renunciation is very, very strongly there. But the idea of utilizing what is there in Krishna's service is also strongly there. Anasaktascha vishayan yatarham upayinjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. So take the best position which is most suitable for us to progress in Krishna consciousness. For somebody it may be brahmacharya ashram, for somebody it may be grahastha ashram, For a person who is grahastha for quite some time, it may be vanaprastha ashram. And then person who is in vanaprastha, he may think sannyas is better. But whatever is the best way to progress forward, according to Shastra, you should choose that way. And we should move forward. And we should do everything to please Krishna. This is real renunciation. Because sometimes when we read this kind of things, we may get very confused. Sometimes one may become detached out of frustration. And that detachment is not very good. Therefore, because that detachment will not stand for long. When there is another object for attachment which appears in a favorable condition, then one will get attached to that object of attachment. Like, for example, we can see it's commonly happening nowadays, that a man and woman, they get married. Then they get frustrated with each other. So then they go for separation. They say, oh, we can't live with each other. I can't stand this lady. And the lady says, I can't stand this man. They get separated from each other. Okay. Now, that means you should be detached from family life. You should not get attached to family life. You already seen the misery of family life. You should be detached from family life. No, it's not like that. Then the man sees some other woman and then he starts thinking, oh, this woman might be nice for me. Or the woman sees some other man and then she starts thinking, oh, this man might be nice for me. Are you already saw that things are nice, not nice. Why are you now again trying? Why are you now again trying? Because the renunciation which came that time was out of frustration. That was not a renunciation which came from understanding. It simply came out of frustration. So therefore, the next available opportunity for sense gratification is in the front. So you want to grab that opportunity and get into some sort of sense gratification. So therefore, it is called as Falgu Vairagya, Vairagyam Falgu Kadyate. So when such instructions are being given, one should not fall victim to Falgu Vairagya. Rather, one should take these instructions in the light of Yukta Vairagya. It's very important for us to understand the difference between these two things. When we hear such things, we can very easily think that, oh, there is no meaning to relationships. And we may try to bring that kind of false renunciation within our Krishna conscious society also. And if we do that, whether it is in Brahmacharya ashram or Grahastha ashram or any ashram, it will be havoc. It will be havoc. Why? Because Krishna consciousness is meant to cultivate meaningful relationships. Prabhupada says that the International Society of Krishna Consciousness has been made to facilitate 6 types of loving exchanges amongst devotees. So therefore, these instructions should be understood in proper way. They should be understood to educate ourselves, not to become victim of our false ego in treating the relationships on bodily conception of life, but to actually nicely deal with all relationships on the basis of Krishna consciousness. That's what we should learn. And here, such strong advice is being given to Chitraketu, because Chitraketu is so much steeped in bodily conception of life. He has become, it's like a stupor. He's become like a madman. Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma. He become like a madman. He is not thinking that he's a sensible man. He's become like a madman. So therefore, very strong injection is being given to him. Very strong medicine is being given to him. But that medicine should be properly understood. It should be properly understood. It should not be misunderstood. Okay, please read. Continue.
Roji, I wanted to ask one thing. That sometimes somebody has he has taken renunciation, but again, when next opportunity he gets, he falls prey to sense gratification. So does it mean that his renunciation is out of frustration? I mean, what is the difference between genuine renunciation and out of frustration? Like you gave the example of that husband or that man again running after another woman. So how to understand this?
See, in genuine renunciation, there are different stages of genuine renunciation. Okay, so there is a, okay, let me try to find the document. Okay, I'll answer this question after the break because I need to find a document. Okay, there are 4 stages of genuine renunciation. And I want to read it from the document. I know it, but I still want to read it from the document. So then it is complete. Okay. This is discussed by Ramanuja. So I have the document somewhere. So I will get the document and then I will read it after the break. So just let us hold on with this question till the break time. Okay. Any other question, comment? And once I read it, then after that we can have some discussion. Okay, please read. Continue.
It has already been explained that Chitraketu's son was his enemy in a past life and had now appeared as his son just to give him more severe pain. One may put forward the argument, if the king's son was his enemy, how could the king have so much affection for him? In answer, the example is given that when someone's wealth falls into the hands of his enemy, the money becomes the enemy's friend. Then the enemy can use it for his own purposes. Indeed, he can even use it to harm its previous owner. Therefore, the money belongs neither to the one party nor to the other. The money is always money, but in different situations, it can be used as an enemy or a friend. Therefore, the so-called relationship of father and son is an arrangement of Prakriti or nature. It has no meaning and therefore it is called illusion. The same living entity sometimes takes shelter of an animal father and mother, and sometimes a human father and mother. Sometimes he accepts a father and mother among the birds, and sometimes he accepts a demigod father and mother. Therefore, the duty of a human being is to capture the opportunity to come in touch with Krishna's representative, the bona fide spiritual master. Under the guidance of the spiritual master, the spiritual father, one can return home back to Godhead.
Okay, please read the next purport.
As an animal is transferred from one owner to another, the living entity who was the son of Chitraketu lived as his son for some time, but as soon as he was transferred to another body, the affectionate relationship was broken. As stated in the example, given in the previous verse, when one has a commodity in his hands, he considers it his. But as soon as it is transferred, it becomes someone else's commodity. Then one no longer has a relationship with it. He has no affection for it, nor does he lament for it.
Okay, continue.
Actually, it is relatively, if the living entity is accepted as the smallest, there should naturally be inquiry about the greatest. The greatest is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the smallest is the living entity. Atmaya Gunai. The living entity is responsible for his conditional life in the material world, and therefore he is described as Prabhu, the master. If he likes, if he likes, he can come to this material world, and if he likes, he can return home back to Godhead. The Supreme Lord gives the living entity a chance to enjoy in this material world as he desires. But he openly expresses his own desire that the living entity give up all material aspirations, fully surrender unto him, and return home back to Godhead.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I was thinking when I read this first, I was thinking that everybody is calling each other Prabhu, Prabhu. The mood is that to accept other one as master. But this is also the warning which we are hearing from everybody that, hey, don't be Prabhu. This is also another the warning we are hearing. Don't be Prabhu. Don't think that I have the liberty to enter into the material world and I can be here. So don't be Prabhu. Don't try to be the master of this situation. Better you become Das. It's better. It's better you become Das. So it's very interesting how Prabhupada explains the word Prabhu here. It's a warning. Whenever someone calls us Prabhu, be careful. Sometimes, anyway, okay, continue.
The Supreme Lord has no enemy or friend, but he is inclined toward a devotee who always engages in his devotional service. The Lord is extremely antagonistic toward those who are envious of his devotees. To protect his devotees, the Lord sometimes has to kill their enemies. Since the Lord is a witness of everyone's activities, he witnesses the actions of the enemies of his devotees, and he is inclined to punish them. In other cases, however, he simply witnesses what the living entities do and gives the results of one's sinful or pious actions.
So, this looks like two contradictory statements. One side it is said that the Lord is neutral. The other side is the Lord is punishing those who are the enemy of devotees. And Krishna says this very openly. Tanaham Dvishita Kuran Samsareshu Naradaman Shipyami Ajashram Ashubhan Asri Yonishu. Very openly he is declaring. I just put them in demoniac wombs. Very openly the Lord is declaring. So then where is the neutrality of the Lord in such a declaration? Where is the neutrality of the Lord? The Lord is neutral or he is not neutral?
Neutral.
So if he's neutral, then why he is making such statement? I put them into demoniac wombs. It looks like he wants to fix them.
See, they want to remain away from the Lord.
Oh, everybody wants to remain away from the Lord. In the all the entities in the material world, they are all in the same situation only. They all want to remain away from the Lord. Why only specifically those who are enemy of devotee, Lord will come and kill them. They will put them in Asura.
Prabhupada gives an example that sometimes the father may have many children, but still he is affectionate to the particular child who is obedient to him. So it is not that father is partial to the child.
That's okay. That's fine. See, affection to the devotee is acceptable. Prabhupada also gives the example that, the king, he is affectionate to all citizens. He is going to be especially affectionate to his own son. That's okay. But why this enmity with the demons that Krishna seems to almost it seems to be fixing them. He's saying that I throw them into this Asura Yoni, I'll make their life inauspicious. He says, Shipyam Ajashram Ashubhan Asrivyeva Yogishu are cast into me the ocean of material existence into various demoniac species of life. Why Krishna is doing this? And how can he be called neutral if he's doing this?
Krishna. Prabhupada also writes.
Prabhupada says, others he is just giving them results of pious and sinful activity. Only those who are not against the devotees go behind them and then fix them. Why? Why it is called as neutrality?
Prabhupada says that. Yeah. Prabhupada says that, but Krishna, being merciful to them also by killing, he also liberates them.
No, this is not liberating them. No, see, there are two situations. One is Krishna kills them and liberates them. That's okay. That can be understood as mercy. But here Krishna is saying, Krishna is not saying I'm killing them and liberating them. He's saying that I'm going to put them in Asura Yoni. You see, very, 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 very clearly it is written. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence in various species of demoniac species of life. The Lord is extremely antagonistic towards those who are envious of his devotees. To protect his devotees, sometimes the Lord kills them. Since the Lord is witness of everyone's activity, he witnessed their action of the enemies of devotees and inclined to punish them. Then there are others. The others, he just gives them sinful and pious activity result.
So here the Lord is actually expressing his heart that how everybody should try to become devotee. He's giving that, that kind of hint from here that that everybody should try to be his devotee. That's how he loves his devotees.
That's
Also,
okay.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, sometimes the government puts one behind bars and other citizens, same government awards. This does not mean the government is partial. So Lord giving punishment to these demonic people does not mean that Lord is also partial. Lord is functioning and giving them results according to what they have done. It's like the mother slapping the child only to reform the child. It is not enmity of the mother towards the child. Or it's not enmity of the government towards the citizen, that the government is putting citizen behind bars, or somebody is being hanged, or somebody is being given scholarship and reward.
So it's a good analogy, but still one may argue that the analogy only applies to the yellow highlight, because in that yellow highlight, it is saying he simply witnessed what the living entity does and gives result towards pious and sinful or pious activity. So there is some punishment for sinful activity, there is some result for pious activity, where he is remaining witness. But in the case of enemies, the Lord becomes inclined to punish. Enemies of devotees, the Lord becomes inclined to punish them. He himself is thinking, hey, this guy should be punished. He is not remaining the neutral judge who is awarding something and then not awarding something. He is not the neutral judge, So that's a good analogy, but it seems like Prabhupada is making distinction between two approaches of the Lord. One approach is to normal people who are doing piety and impiety. Another approach towards those who are enemies of devotees. So it seems that two different approaches there.
Roji, this is not like Lord is partial in the sense, because it is not partial. We can call it is reciprocal. Like if someone is loving, the devotees are loving and surrendering everything to him, and anyone who is trying to harm them, so it is for their protection, to show them his love, that how he protects those who envy or are enemies of his devotees. It is reciprocally, and partiality is there, impartiality is there according to what they do. The yellow highlight one part.
Okay. So it's a good discussion. Many points came out. I'm happy with the discussion. So many nice analogies came out and so many points came out. I just wanted to add one more point to this. It's all whatever you said is correct and it's not like wrong. Please don't misunderstand me. Okay. I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just trying to add one more consideration to this so that we can try to get a slightly better picture. Okay. Lord takes some extra effort to punish these people, because if he doesn't put them in such situation, then whatever they will do will actually give them more suffering. That's the reason why he pushes them into such a situation where that whatever they will do will be accepted as their nature. If a Rakshasa eats flesh, it's accepted as his nature because he's a Rakshasa. He needs to eat human flesh. That's why he's Rakshasa. So when a Rakshasa is eating flesh, human flesh, it is accepted as his nature that yes, this guy is a Rakshasa, so he has to eat human flesh. But if a person who is not a Rakshasa, if he tries to eat human flesh, then the reaction is very, very heavy, extremely heavy reaction. So in order to save these people who are against these devotees from extremely heavy reaction, the Lord awards them certain bodies where it is natural to be sinful. And then it's understood that, okay, they have this body, then these guys are going to be sinful. So therefore, the reaction is not so heavy. And they also get an opportunity to fulfill their desires, which are very abominable, in that body with the least reaction. So therefore, that is also Lord's impartiality. It's also part of Lord's mercy. Is not away from the Lord's mercy. So the punishment which he says, which he gives, this strong punishment which he gives to these people, is also to protect them from facing very severe reactions by doing what they are doing in a body which is not appropriate for them to do it. In that way, it's also Lord's mercy. Just another consideration.
It's like giving them the appropriate bodies. So that is sanctioned to them in that body, that we are saying.
Yes. Like for example, if one is given a pig's body, In that body, it is sanctioned that he will eat stool. And then he will have sex indiscriminately. The pig doesn't consider that this is my wife pig, this is my mother pig, this is my daughter pig. It doesn't consider like this. So I should have sex with my wife pig. I should, have very nice loving relationship with my mother pig and daughter pig. And I should not have any sexual feelings against them. The pig doesn't consider like that. For a pig, is just a male pig and female pig. That's it. So whenever there is a urge to have sex, the nearest available female pig, which is conducive for sex, simply the pig has sex with that female pig. And it is natural in that body to eat stool and to have sex. It's natural in that body. So therefore, that body itself is so abominable that the body itself is suffering. He has to lie in the gutter. He has to always be stinky. So there's a whole package of suffering which is given to the body, and that body's natural way of living is that only. Prabhupada says if you give halwa to the pig will not eat. He will eat only stool. So therefore, the body itself is given in such a way that the very natural life of the body itself is very heavy kind of suffering. But the body itself is tolerating that because the body is that is the way the body is supposed to survive. So therefore, the body takes it as its natural way of living. And then there is not so much suffering. And then also this desire to have indiscriminate sex, the desire to eat most abominable things, everything is naturally fulfilled by having that body. So that's how it works. That's why one should actually carefully understand one's precarious situation in this material world by studying the various material bodies. By studying the various material bodies, one should very carefully understand one's precarious situation in this material world. Okay. Let's continue.
The conditioned soul has friends and enemies. He is affected by the good qualities. He is affected by the good qualities and the faults of his position. We should also understand that udasin, neutral, does not mean that he takes no action. Rather, it means that he is not personally affected. For example, a court judge is neutral when two opposing parties appear before him, but he still takes action as the case warrants. Nevertheless, since the Lord knows how to adjust everything, the best course is to depend upon him and do one's duty in devotional service to the Lord. In all circumstances, one should be undisturbed by duality. One should execute one's devotional duty. And for the results of one's actions, one should depend upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, it is very, very important because in this material world, we are so result oriented that for us, process generally doesn't have so much importance. The process has importance to the extent that it is able to deliver the result. That's how we always think in the material world. So therefore, we don't give so much importance to the process. We give so much importance to result. Everything is result oriented. Everything is seen in terms of result. There's also this statement phalena parichiyate, that everything is seen by its result. But Krishna consciousness is process oriented. So therefore, the focus is on the process. The focus is not so much on the result. The focus is on the process. Why? Because the process itself is the result. Then there may be some other result, which is a secondary result, which may manifest, which may not manifest. But being sincere to the process itself is the result. And that is what is called being neutral. That's what is called being neutral. That one should try to steadily execute one's Krishna consciousness, irrespective of the ups and downs which happens in one's Krishna conscious life. Sometimes you may have a very favorable situation to practice Krishna consciousness. Sometimes you may have a very unfavorable situation to practice Krishna consciousness. Sometimes you may receive a lot of glorification. And sometimes you may receive a lot of sauce. Sometimes you may be given some big responsibility. Sometimes you may be thrown out of all the responsibilities. All these things can happen. It keeps happening. It keeps happening in this material world. That's the very nature of this material world. Sometimes something goes up, sometimes the same thing comes down. Sometimes we are the favorite of everybody. Sometimes everybody doesn't like us. Anybody sees, they're saying, what is this man? What are you doing? They're saying like this. Or sometimes you're going around with so much influence that everybody says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sometimes you become nobody, that nobody cares for you. Nobody cares for you. So these things can happen, it can easily happen. But amongst all these things, one should be very fixed in steadily executing one's devotional service. That is called neutrality. That's called neutrality. So one should try to accept everything which comes as Krishna's mercy. And then one should try to be steady in one's devotional service. Of course, accepting does not mean that one should not counteract. So sometimes all these things are very important to know the difference between these things. It's not that, if you get sick, Bhakti over class disorder, we should accept it. So I will not go to doctor, I will just remain sick. No, that's not very much intelligent way of doing. So if you get sick, you should go to doctor and should take some medicine to counteract sickness. But you should accept that the material body is prone to sickness. That's the acceptance part. The acceptance part is that yes, the material body is prone to sickness. So therefore, sickness coming to this body and sickness going away from this body is natural. So I should do whatever I should do to remove the sickness of this body, but I should simply focus on my Krishna consciousness. That is called acceptance. That is called acceptance. Sometimes mind is so disturbed. Mind is so disturbed. One should accept the nature of mind is like this. Manja chanchalam himana Krishna. It is told that, Arjuna himself is telling that mind is so chanchala, it can be very disturbed. And Krishna is also agreeing to, yes, very good. What you are saying is correct. Krishna is also saying, but Krishna has told that abhyasena kaunte vairagyena chudyate, that one should actually practice denunciation. Means that one should remain neutral to the disturbances caused by one's mind. And one should understand that one has got nothing to do with one's mind. Oh, Mr. Mind, you are disturbed, you be disturbed. That's your problem. I have my things to do, which is my Krishna consciousness. So I will focus on my thing, you focus on your thing. Then the mind will come back to focus on what we want to focus on. So we should differentiate ourselves from the mind. We should differentiate ourselves from the body. And we should focus on our Krishna consciousness. That is called being neutral. That's called being neutral. So therefore, that neutrality should be maintained. But at the same time, whatever action needs to be done, that action needs to be taken. It's not that neutrality means no action. Neutrality means that whatever action is taken acknowledging the nature of the living entity and the nature of the living entity's life in the material world. That is called neutrality. Okay, please read the purport.
Roji, even this point, which the highlighted one, that is also very wonderful, now that saying that Lord knows everything, so he adjusts things in the previous one.
Correct.
Yeah. So there also it's like accepting Krishna being the supreme controller.
Right.
Means that way the person can become peaceful and undisturbed also. I mean, I'm just seeing from that.
Yes, correct. It's a very important point. Yeah. So when we accept that, okay, Krishna is the well-wisher, he knows what is good for me. And if he has given this experience to me, then that means it is for my good only. It's for my auspiciousness only. If we accept it like that, then we can remain neutral. That's a very important point. Yes, it's a very important point. We can see in Bhagavatam, throughout Bhagavatam, people accept different types of tribulations like that. They go through so many tribulations. They simply accept it as Krishna's plan. Okay, this is Krishna's plan. Okay, let it be. They go through it. But at the same time, they also counteract. It's not that they don't counteract. They counteract. Each of them counteracts in their own way. Like Dhruva counteracts it in his own way. Prahlad counteracts it in his own way. Vritrasura counteracts it in his own way. So different devotees counteract things in their own way, but with the full acceptance of Krishna's plan. And what is Vritrasura's, why Vritrasura is so special? Because that counteraction and then acceptance is so explicit in Vritrasura's pastime. He's so explicit in his pastime that he is accepting that the Lord has destined Indra to kill him. He is accepting that. But still he is fighting with Indra. He is not saying that, okay, the Lord has anyway told Indra is going to kill me, so I should just keep quiet and let Indra kill me. No, he is fighting with Indra. Because that is his duty, to actually fight with him. So he is fighting with Indra. And Indra cuts both his hands, and he doesn't think, okay, anyway, Indra has cut both my hands, now it's time to die, let me just die. Still he swallows Indra. And after swallowing Indra, he is thinking, okay, anyway, my job is done. Now I have swallowed Indra. So let me just meditate on the Supreme Lord. So then Indra cuts his stomach, and then he comes out, and then he cuts his neck, he cuts it for a long time, and then finally, it happens. So that's why Vritrasura's pastime is so special. One side, Vritrasura is advising Indra that you have actually faith that you can kill me because the Lord has told you that you can kill me. And Indra doesn't have that faith because his weapon has fallen down twice. And Indra is thinking, maybe the Lord has cheated me. Maybe he actually did a quick one on me. He sent me to this Vritrasura, and Vritrasura is so powerful. Already the Lord told Vritrasura is powerful enough to finish off all of us. The Lord wants us to be finished in Vritrasura's hands. So he sent us there, telling us some story. He has sent us here. Now this guy, this weapon I'm having, I'm supposed to kill this guy with this weapon, but this guy strikes me with an ordinary weapon, and then this weapon himself falls down. Now how to trust Krishna? Indra is thinking like that. And Vritrasura is telling him, "Arey, trust him, man, just pick up your weapon and fight. Things are going to happen." So the acceptance of the Lord's will and the counteraction at the same time, both are so explicit in that pastime. Why? Because Chitraketu heard these instructions. Therefore, he was able to have that disposition as Vritrasura. He heard it. He heard these instructions. He heard from Narada. He heard from Angira. He heard from his own son. He heard these very, very, very valuable instructions, and he remembered them. So that's why he says, Vritrasura says that I am no, my Lord, I am not interested in this life with women, children, and all those things. I'm not interested in this life. So that realization is coming from this experience, because you don't find Vritrasura married and then having a nice time, etc. But his realization is coming from his previous experience as Chitraketu. Okay, continue this part.
In this verse, the word Bal Hatya Hat Prabha is to be particularly noted. This practice of killing children has existed in human society for a long time, since time immemorial. But in the days of yore, it was very rarely performed. At the present moment, however, in this age of Kali, abortion, killing the child within the womb, has become very common, and sometimes a child is even killed after birth. Any woman who has ever performed such an infamously sinful act must atone for it. But no one now is doing that. Under the circumstances, the woman responsible must suffer in this life and the next. Those who are sincere souls, after hearing this incident, should refrain from such child killing and should atone for their sinful activities by taking to Krishna consciousness very seriously. If one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offenses, all of one's sinful actions are surely atoned for immediately. But one should not commit such deeds again, for that is an offense.
So Prabhupada speaks very strongly against abortion here, and killing the child in the womb, especially by the father and mother. This is yes, very dangerous. Okay, so we have some nice prayer. Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namasankarshanaya Cha Namo Vijnana Matraya Paramananda Murtaye Atma Ramaya Shantaya Nivrittatvaita Drishtaye. So he gave very nice prayer mantra. It's nice mantra to meditate upon. Okay, please read. Let's read now from here. We are reading translations. Let's read more translations. Please read.
Narada gave Chitraketu the following mantra. O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkar, Pranav, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O Lord Vasudev, I meditate upon you. O Lord Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha, and Lord Sankarshan, I offer you my respectful obeisances. O reservoir of spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are self-sufficient and most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, and are therefore the reservoir of all knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Okay, continue, please.
Perceiving your personal bliss, you are always transcendental to the waves of material nature. Therefore, my Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You are the supreme controller of the senses, and your expansions of form are unlimited. You are the greatest, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. The words and mind of the conditioned soul cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for material names and forms are not applicable to the Lord, who is entirely spiritual. It's entirely spiritual, beyond the conception of gross and subtle forms. The impersonal Brahman is another of his forms. May he, by his pleasure, protect us. As pots made completely of earth are situated on earth after being created and are transformed into earth again when broken, this cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahman, situated in the Supreme Brahman, and annihilated in the same Supreme Brahman. Therefore, since the Supreme Lord is the cause of Brahman, let us offer him our respectful obeisances. The Supreme Brahman emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by anything material, it exists within and without. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, senses, and living force can neither touch him nor know him. I offer unto him my respectful obeisances. As iron has the power to burn when made red hot in the association of fire, so the body, senses, living force, mind, and intelligence, although merely lumps of matter, can function in their activities when infused with a particle of consciousness by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As iron cannot burn unless heated by fire, the bodily senses cannot act unless favored by the Supreme Brahman. O transcendental Lord, who are situated in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, your two lotus feet are always massaged by multitude of the best devotees with the lotus bud hands. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, complete in 6 opulences. You are the Supreme Person mentioned in the Purusha Shukta prayers. You are the most perfect, self-realized master of all mystic power. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
So that is the prayer. Okay. Continue.
Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, Narada, having become the spiritual master of Chitraketu, instructed him fully in this prayer because Chitraketu was fully surrendered. O King Parikshit, Narada then left with the great sage Angira for the topmost planet known as Brahmalok. Fasting and drinking only water, Chitraketu for 1 week continuously chanted with great care and attention the mantra given by Narad Muni. O King Parikshit, After only 1 week of repeatedly practicing the mantra received from the spiritual master, Chitraketu achieved the rule of the planet of the Vidyadharas as an intermediate product of his spiritual advancement in knowledge.
So he got some intermediate position.
Thereafter, within a very few days, by the influence of the mantra that Chitraketu had practiced, his mind became increasingly enlightened in spiritual progress, and he attained shelter at the lotus feet of Anantadev. Upon reaching the shelter of Lord Shesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chitraketu saw that he was as white as the white fibers of a lotus flower. He was dressed in bluish garments and adorned with a brilliantly glittering helmet, armlets, belt, and bangles. His face was smiling, and his eyes were reddish. He was surrounded by such exalted, liberated persons as Sanat Kumar. As soon as Maharaj Chitraketu saw the Supreme Lord, he was cleansed of all material contamination and situated in his original Krishna consciousness, being completely purified. He became silent and grave, and because of love for the Lord, tears fell from his eyes and his hairs stood on end. With great devotion and love, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto the original Personality of Godhead. With tears of love and affection, Chitraketu repeatedly moistened the resting place of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Because his voice was choked in ecstasy for a considerable time, he was unable to utter any of the letters of the alphabet to offer the Lord suitable prayers. Thereafter, by controlling his mind with his intelligence and thus restricting his senses from external engagements, he recovered suitable words with which to express his feelings. Thus, he began offering prayers to the Lord, who is the personification of the Holy Scriptures, the Satvat Samhitas, like the Brahma Samhita and the Nada Pancharatra, and who is the spiritual master of all. He offered his prayers as follows. Chitraketu said, O unconquerable Lord, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotees who have control of the mind and senses. They can keep you under their control because you are causelessly merciful to devotees who desire no material profit from you. Indeed, you give yourself to them, and because of this, you also have full control over your devotees. My dear Lord, this cosmic manifestation and its creation, maintenance, and annihilation are all but your opulences, since Lord Brahma and other creators are nothing but small portions of a portion of you. Their partial power to create does not make them God, Ishvara. Their consciousness of themselves as separate lords is therefore merely false prestige. It is not valid. You exist in the beginning, middle, and the end of everything. From the most minute particle of the cosmic manifestation, the atom, to the gigantic universes and total material energy. Nonetheless, you are eternal, having no beginning, end, or middle. You are perceived to exist in these three phases, and thus you are permanent. When the cosmic manifestation does not exist, you exist as the original potency. Every universe is covered by 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, sky, the total energy and false ego, each 10 times greater than the previous one. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and although they are unlimitedly large, they move about like atoms in you. Therefore, you are called unlimited, Ananta. O Lord, O supreme unintelligent persons who thirst for sense enjoyment and who worship various demigods are no better than animals in the human form of life. Because of their animalistic propensities, they fail to worship your lordship, and instead they worship the insignificant demigods who are but small sparks of your glory. With the destruction of the entire universe, including the demigods, the benedictions received from the demigods also vanish. Just like the nobility when a king is no longer in power. O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge and are transcendental to material qualities, they are not subject to material rebirth. Just as sterilized or fried seeds do not produce plants. Living entities are subjected to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who is inclined to associate with you in transcendence escapes the conditions of material nature. O unconquerable one, when you spoke about Bhagavad Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who are self satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the process of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet.
It's very important. It's a very important shloka where Bhagavad Dharma is stressed. Okay.
Being full of contradictions, all forms of religion, but Bhagavad Dharma work under conceptions of fruitive results and distinctions of you and I and yours and mine. The followers of Shrimad Bhagavatam have no such consciousness. They're all Krishna conscious, thinking that they are Krishna's and Krishna is theirs. There are other low-class religious systems which are contemplated for the killing of enemies or the gain of mystic power. But such religious systems, being full of passion and envy, are impure and temporary. Because they are full of envy, they are full of irreligion.
Hmm.
How can a religious system that produces envy of oneself and of others be beneficial for oneself and for them? What is auspicious about following such a system? What is actually to be gained? By causing pain to one's own self due to self envy, and by causing pain to others, one arouses your anger and practices a religion.
So a very interesting topic is brought up here, which is self-envy. We don't think about envy in terms of we are envious of our own self. We don't think about it. But Chitraketu has experienced it. So therefore, he talks about this topic. So of course, when we discuss this purport, we'll discuss this. It's a very important topic, self-envy. Okay, please continue.
My dear Lord, one's occupational duty is instructed in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita according to your point of view, which never deviates from the highest goal of life. Those who follow their occupational duties under your supervision, being equal to all living entities, moving and non moving, and not considering high and low, are called Aryans. Such Aryans worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. Not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once. Even Chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Under the circumstances, who will not be freed from material contamination simply by seeing you?
So this is another quality of Bhagavatam, that because Bhagavatam is meant to establish the chanting of the holy name as the Yuga Dharma. So therefore, you will find that whenever there's an opportunity, Bhagavatam immediately glorifies the holy name. This is a very important quality of Bhagavatam, that you will see in any prayer or in any circumstance, suddenly there will be one sloka which will actually glorify the holy name. Because that is Bhagavatam's purpose. Bhagavatam wants to actually establish, yes, we should surrender. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, you surrender to me. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam rajaham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. So that is very clear that Krishna said that, I will remove all your sins, you will please surrender to me. But Krishna never gave the process by which we can surrender to him. Krishna just said surrender and then he just walked off. He said, okay, now you surrender. So now what to do, how to surrender? Then that is explained in Bhagavatam. Nama Sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. So Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papa ibhyo mokshayishyami masachaha. So how he is going to remove that sins? By Nama Sankirtan. But when we do Nama Sankirtan, those sins will be removed. Nama Sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. Pranamo dukkha samanastam namami harim param. So that process of surrender which Krishna started in the closing statements of Bhagavad Gita, that process of surrender is completely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Apanna samsatim goram yannama vipasho grinan tato sadhya umuchyete yadbhiveti swayam bhayam. So from the beginning of Bhagavatam and throughout the Bhagavatam and in the end of the Bhagavatam, it is consistently it is explained that one should take shelter of the holy name. That is the process in Kali Yuga. Constantly this is explained. So therefore, the process of chanting the holy name, it reinforces the taste to read Bhagavatam. The process of studying Bhagavatam, it reinforces the faith in chanting the holy name. They are actually invigorating each other. So in that sense, they are non-different, because the difference between Bhagavatam and the holy name, it persists only for the sadhaka. For a siddha, there is no difference between chanting the holy name and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because within the holy name, Bhagavatam is contained. It is contained within the holy name. And within the Bhagavatam, the holy name is contained. That can be very clearly seen, that within the Bhagavatam, holy name is contained, because there is so much of glorification of the holy name in Bhagavatam. Sometimes people think, some class of people think, oh, we should only chant the holy name. There's no need to read Bhagavatam. It's a mistaken conception. Why is a mistaken conception? Because there is no difference between the holy name and Bhagavatam. Only in the sadhana stage, we are unable to perceive that there is no difference between the holy name and Bhagavatam. Our Acharya has spoken about two types of devotees. That devotees for whom the natural affection for Krishna is awakened, and devotees for whom the natural affection for Krishna is not awakened. For the second class devotees, there is difference between Bhagavatam and the holy name. And one may prefer one to the other. One may say, oh, I prefer the holy name, I prefer Bhagavatam. But for the first class devotees, there is no preference from one to the other, because one is the other. So therefore, in Bhagavatam, it is very commonly you find that whenever there's an opportunity, Bhagavatam immediately jumps on that opportunity, it grabs that opportunity and glorifies the holy name. So here also we see the same thing. Very nice shloka. He's saying that anybody can be glorified. Continue, please.
Therefore, my Lord, simply seeing you has now wiped away all the contamination of sinful activities and the results of material attachment and lusty desires, which always fill my mind and the core of my heart. Whatever is predicted by the great says Narada Muni cannot be otherwise. In other words, I have obtained your audience as a result of being trained by Narad Muni.
Continue.
O unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever a living entity does in this material world is well known to you because you are the super soul. In the presence of the sun, there is nothing to be revealed but the light of a glowworm. Similarly, because you know everything, in your presence, there is nothing for me to make known. My dear Lord, you are the creator, maintainer, annihilator of this cosmic manifestation. But persons who are too materialistic and who always see separateness do not have eyes with which to see you. They cannot understand your real position, and therefore they conclude that the cosmic manifestation is independent of your opulence. My Lord, you are the supreme pure and you are full in all six opulences. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear Lord, it is after you endeavor that Lord Brahma, Indra, and the other directors of the cosmic manifestation become occupied with their activities. It is after you perceive the material energy, my Lord, that the senses begin to perceive. The Supreme Personality of Godhead holds all the universes on his heads like seeds of mustard. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, that Supreme Personality who has thousands of hoods.
Yeah. So these are all explained in third canto, all these statements that only after the endeavor, Lord Brahma, Indra, and other directors of cosmic manifestation become occupied with their activities. This is explained in the third canto in the prayer of the demigods. If you remember the third canto in the, I think it's chapter number 6, there's no, chapter number 5, there's prayer of demigods. So they are actually requesting the Lord to enter the cosmic manifestation because they are unable to do their activities. And again, the living entity can perceive only after the Lord can perceive. This is also explained in the description of the universal form in the second canto. The second canto, there's 3 description of the universal form. There's first description of the universal form, and the second description of the first description of universal form in the first chapter. The second description of the universal form in the 5th and the 6th chapter, and then there's a third description of the universal form in the 10th chapter. So in that description of the universal form in the 10th chapter, this fact is explained that the living entity can perceive with senses only after the Lord perceives. So all these things have been previously explained. So Chitraketu offered very nice prayers. And then now Sukadeva Goswami continued, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of God, and Antadeva, being very pleased with the prayers offered by Chitraketu, the king of Vidyadharas, replied to him as follows. O Kuru, O best among Kuru dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit. Okay, we'll take a break here and then we'll come back after 10 minutes to continue. So it's 12:05, we'll come back around 12:15 and then we'll continue. Before we get into the purport, I will try to answer the question first and then we'll get into the purport. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna. हाँ, हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। मेरा आवाज अच्छा उस समय क्लास के टाइम है।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, let's go all the way back. I'm reading. Okay. So let's start from here. Let's start reading.
Question, can you ask question?
Yeah. I will answer the question. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Good. Great.
Prabhuji, you in the you were mentioning about Vritrasur, that how although he was knowing the will of the Lord, but still he is counteracting. He is trying to do his duty. So he is trying in the same way we see that Bhisma Dev, although he is put in the side of the adharma. So now about both the personalities, I want to ask that how these personalities, although they are in the wrong side, first thing they are not complaining about the plan of the Lord. They are accepting and they are doing their wish. So I want to know what is where from the strength is coming from. First thing is that never both the personalities, never they are opposing the will of the Lord. At the same time, in putting when they are placed in such a situation, still they are trying to do their duty. So how although you mentioned, but I want little more explanation. And as is the case of both the personalities come in the same category?
Yeah, there's also a third personality or fourth personality. There is Parikshit, there is Narada.
Bridget, the question was not clear. If you could paraphrase it, please.
So basically, the question was that that we find that there are personalities in Bhagavatam who are in a very precarious condition, and they are not even in a situation they're not even in a situation where externally it can be perceived as they are being favorable to Krishna. Like, for example, demigods are favorable to Krishna, demons are against Krishna. So now Vritrasura is fighting with Indra. So the Lord is favoring Indra. He is actually telling Indra how to kill Vritrasura. So basically, it looks like the Lord is favoring Indra. Same way, Bhishma is not with the side of the Pandavas, he is with the side of Kauravas, and he is fighting from the side of Kauravas. And the Lord is in the side of the Pandavas. So Bhishma knows fully well that he is in the losing side, because that side is against the Lord. And same way, Vritrasura knows that he is in the losing side because that side is against the Lord. But still they perform their duties and they never complain about this. So where does their strength come from? That is the question.
Because because when we see our situation, when we are put in such a situation, when we see that our authorities are not, they are not in our favor or not, so then we lose impetus to work only, to serve only. We feel that what is the use of serving when we are not getting any, we see that the superiors are not in our favor, or we are not being supported. So but still they are acting in such a way. So what is the whole or overall impetus, or the where is the force coming from?
So this question is asked by Hiranyakashipu to Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. So Hiranyakashipu, he tells Prahlad that Prahlad, till this time, I have been sending people to kill you, and they are not very successful. So this time I'm not going to send anybody to kill you, I'm going to kill you myself. So because I lost faith in everybody else. So I'll kill you myself. So he takes a sword and then he comes and then he tries to, he's coming to kill Prahlad. And Prahlad is just coolly standing there. Okay, try. Everybody tried, you also try. What is there? You try. Then that surprises Hiranyakashipu. He's thinking, hey, this 5-year-old boy, he knows that actually I can kill him. And then he's just standing like this. So he's asking Prahlad, hey, where does your strength come from? So then Prahlad answers the question. He's saying that your strength, my strength, our grandfather Brahma's strength, everybody's strength comes from the Lord Vishnu. So of course we know this answer. This is the answer. But the point is, there are two things which are very striking in this context. In the context of Bhishma Dev and in the context of Vritrasura, which is also true in the context of Parikshit, because Parikshit is also put in a situation where he does something which he generally will not do. Generally, it is not his nature to go and insult a rishi or somebody like that. Generally, he doesn't do this kind of things. So, but he is put in a situation where he does things like this. So, what is striking with all these three people is that they seem to know what is the Lord's plan. That is what is striking with all the three of them. Bhishma Dev very clearly says, okay, you guys are suffering. That means this should be Lord's plan. This is number one. And Vritrasura is advising Indra, I know Lord's plan. Lord's plan is that you should win. So please take the weapon and you fight, man. You fight. You're going to win. I know this. This is Lord's plan. And Parikshit also says the same thing. Let this snake or whatever which has been sent by the magical creature which has been sent by this Brahman boy, let it come and kill me. I am not bothered. I am just going to sit and I am going to hear Krishna Katha. So they are so much in equilibrium with Krishna that they actually understand that this is Krishna's plan. So therefore, they are not bewildered by what happens around them. The other point is brought up by Kapiladev. Kapiladev brings up this point. So this point is for Siddhas. Now we can say, no, these people are Siddha Purushas, they know Lord's plan. I don't know Lord's plan. So the point which is brought up by Kapiladev is very relevant for sadhakas. So Kapiladev says that there is one difference between pure devotional service and mixed devotional service. Devotional service is contaminated by 3 modes, and devotional service is uncontaminated pure devotional service. There's only one difference. What is the difference? The difference is that this guy who is practicing devotional service, which is contaminated by 3 modes, he has his agenda. He has his agenda. There is Krishna's agenda, there's Guru's agenda, which is same. The Acharya's agenda and Krishna's agenda is same. And then this guy has his agenda. He's called Binnadrik. Even Chittaketu talks about it. Having a different vision other than the vision of the Lord, or other than the vision of the Acharya. That is very instructive for us, because that's easier for us to see that what am I in this for? Take it a project, or take it a preaching effort, or take it whatever it is. When you have something which is different from what is the Krishna conscious agenda, when we have something which is personally sticking to us, that I want something from this, I have something for me in this, then what happens is it is very difficult to actually maintain enthusiasm and work neutrally. Then it becomes like, we are always looking, that could be as simple as a word of recognition. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as somebody coming and patting our back and telling us, oh, you're doing a good job. It would be as simple as that. But we may be getting opposite. We may be getting criticism after criticism. While we are pretty sure that actually I am trying to put my best. and things are not so bad, but still I'm getting criticized. Criticism after criticism is coming. So then I want something, that is, I want recognition. Why do I want recognition? Because I think Krishna is a system. Krishna is not a person. Therefore, I want recognition. Now, what is the connection between Krishna being a person and me wanting recognition or thinking Krishna is a system? Is because we fail to realize Krishna is a person. He is already recognizing, he is already seeing what is happening. So it's not that nobody is seeing what am I doing, only my bosses are seeing, and then they are criticizing me, they're putting criticism after criticism behind me. Nobody is seeing my sincere effort. Why nobody is seeing my sincere effort? No, Krishna is seeing my sincere effort. Krishna is seeing everything. Krishna is closely watching. He is sitting on inside my heart. Upadishta anamanta cha bhatta bhakta maheshwara paramatmeti chapyekto dehesmin purusha paraha. He is sitting there, he is watching. So when we don't recognize that aspect of Krishna being a person and being the supreme person and being in control and knowing everything, and when we start thinking that what we are exposing is what people know about me, then the problem starts. We may be hiding something which is very, very trivial. It may not be some very significant scandal or something like that. We may be hiding something very, very trivial. But that trivial thing which we are hiding, that will be the cause of our bondage, which will bring us back to this material world. Prabhupada made a comment that one Rasgulla can bring you back. Now, like one Rasgulla, what one Rasgulla is? I mean, it's such a trivial thing, one Rasgulla. It's not like some big fall down scandal or something like that. It's just one Rasgulla. And Prabhupada says one Rasgulla can bring you back to this material world. So it's not the what we are hiding is significant or insignificant. It is the presence of it which we are having, which actually gives us a different vision. So as sadhakas, we should look for it. We should look for that mentality in us. That are we having that independent, different vision? Is it still there is some hankering which is there to satisfy the false ego? Like instead of satisfying Krishna, is satisfying the false ego. Is there some little hankering which is wanting to satisfy the false ego, not satisfying Krishna? Okay, so that is something which as sadhakas, which we need to look. That's why Kapila Siksha is so useful. It's so useful because it actually breaks everything down to nuts and bolts. It's like, it's like disassembling a very complicated machine and then breaking it down to nuts and bolts. So you are able to see every part and you're able to see how it fixes, how it works in the bigger picture and how the alignment is there, where there could be misalignment. You're able to see everything. So then it becomes useful. That's what we should look for. That nature within us to look for something which is other than what the Acharya wants. That we should look for. And when we find that, then we can actually, if we remove that from the equation, then we can remain enthusiastic, irrespective of whatever is the situation. Because now we are training ourselves to, we may not be able to see Krishna's will, but we are training ourselves to accept Krishna's will. Okay, instead of making our own plan, we are training ourselves to accept Krishna's will. Of course, it's not that simple also. Then again, we have to see that what are the details of such a situation. All those different things to see. I have seen that some devotees, they have unlimited capacity to be resilient in very difficult circumstances, and then just remain what they are. I am not one of them, but I have seen devotees like that. I've seen devotees like that, and it's very instructive to be with them, and it's very instructive to actually see how they are. and what they are. To see, it's very instructive to be with such devotees. And when we find that association, we should grab it, because that's where we can actually learn that how to remain resilient in difficult circumstances. Okay, so I have yes, Prabhuji.
What is this resilient? Couldn't get that. What is that word?
Resilient means you're able to withstand. You're able to withstand a circumstance which is not favorable to you. It's called resilience. It's English word, resilience.
Prabhuji, just some little bit more explanation about this. If you can I ask?
Yes, Prabhuji, yeah.
Prabhuji, this accepting the will of the Lord, which you are mentioning. So, is it that our false ego? Is it the as you are mentioning? It comes in the way of accepting the. Although sometimes within the core of the heart, if we think we feel that okay, I am not able something. Exactly, I'm not able to figure out what is the will of the Lord for me. That as in the sadhaka stage, as you mentioned rightly.
Correct.
But sometimes the false ego is so strong that even the some instruction or some superior advice is coming, but still we are rebelling. So not feeling means like as you were mentioning, resilient. So how do we act to overcome that?
Yeah, there are two things. Okay, one is that it's not very easy. This is not an easy thing. We're discussing a very difficult topic. It's not a very easy thing. Okay, everybody has a certain limit,
yeah,
up to which a person can tolerate.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Uttamadhikari has unlimited ability to tolerate. A Kanishta Adhikari has least ability to tolerate. And those who are below Kanishta level, which means that those who are their devotion is afflicted by passion and ignorance, they have very little margin to tolerate. Okay, if their devotion is so much imbued with passion and ignorance, they have very little margin to tolerate. A Madhyama Adhikari has a reasonable level to tolerate. So again, it also depends on where we are, whether we are below Kanishta, or whether we are Kanishta, or we are Madhyama or Uttama, where we are. It depends on that. So then that also we should be aware to some extent that, you know, I have passion, I have ignorance. These things we should be aware also to some extent. We cannot be blind to these things. Then if we are aware, then we can work on this. Then we can give up this passion. We can give up, because passionate people are very intolerant. They cannot tolerate because their passion will not allow them to tolerate anything, because they are all like a my way or highway kind of people. Okay. So they always think like that. Okay. So then therefore we should carefully give up that passion. Now, how to give up that passion? That's an important point. That how to give up this passion which is afflicting my devotional service. The way to give up passion which is afflicting devotional service is to actually associate with people who are in mode of goodness. That's the way to give it up. That we need to associate with people who are in mode of goodness, who are actually practicing devotional service in mode of goodness, and then to actually observe them and to learn from them by their achar, that how these people are doing this. It's very instructive. Yesterday I was saying it was very instructive for me to see how Radheshyam Prabhu was dealing with such arrogant criticism. Now it's an opportunity. You be there and then you learn it. And then you say, oh, this is what we should do. This is what we should do.
Just little more explain. Prabhuji, one more thing, just because it is related to this. Prabhuji, you were mentioning in this answer that we have some different agendas other than the will of the Guru and Krishna. So when we are in institutions, we also, because devotees they are performing different services, no, to and they are excelling. So sometimes we also develop the desire to excel in certain things, you know, and we, in one sense, we make that becomes our agenda. So in excelling in some service or some. So one thing is to be what we are, and perform. And another, we get inspired seeing different devotees, how they are. So that, and internally we make that our agenda. So we are not able to how do we actually
After we are not able to, your line got cut. We heard up to we are not able to. After that, what is that? I don't know.
So one thing we understand that simplicity, as we say, simplicity is Vaishnavism. We have to be what we are, but we are caught up in in one sense, like, you know, in becoming something else, or excelling, or, you know, showing, you know, that word. So solution, what is the solution do you suggest?
So, if you actually carefully study the first sloka of Sikshashtakam, the different stages of a devotee's life in chanting the holy name is given there.
Yeah.
So, the first stage is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Okay. Cheto Darpana Marjanam means that the mind is filled with garbage of sinful material enjoyment, and that's the garbage, sinful material enjoyment. The mind is filled with it. The consciousness is filled with it. So, in chant the holy name, these are the things which get first cleaned up. Like, you agree to follow the 4 regulative principles. Means you are basically agreeing to give up sinful life. Okay. This is the thing which is getting cleaned up. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Then the second stage is Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. The moment you give up sinful life, then you actually experience the happiness of not being sinful. Okay. There is a misery of being sinful. There is a happiness of not being sinful. You start experiencing that happiness of not being sinful. Means that the material life is no longer burning you. Why does material life burn us? It burns us because of our sinful activities. The sinful activities and the reactions of the sinful activities, they are constantly burning us. Okay. So that burning is stopping. So we experience a type of happiness which is coming purely from not doing sinful things. That is Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. Then we start being what we are in Krishna consciousness. And that aspect of what we are starts shining in Krishna consciousness. Okay. Means that we have some abilities, we possess some nature, we have something which is given to us by Krishna, and we start utilizing those things in Krishna consciousness, and those things start getting purified, and they start shining in Krishna consciousness. That is Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitarana. Okay. Then what happens is that due to association, okay, due to association, which is superior association, we develop superior desires. And then we pray to Krishna that please fulfill our superior desires to serve you. Okay. Then Krishna enables us with something which we don't have, because that's not we have. We don't have, because that is something which we can very clearly see. Oh, this is not with me, this is with him. And by his association, I have found that this is very nice. So can I also get it, Krishna? Please, can I also get it? So then Krishna is infusing that into us. That is Vidyavadu Jivana. Okay. So these are natural steps in a person's journey when you actually start chanting the holy name. Like as a brahmachari, I'm sure that at some point in your life you joined the Krishna conscious movement. And at that point, I don't know if we are already thinking that I should become brahmachari. Were you thinking like that? I should become brahmachari?
Previously, no.
You're not, right?
No.
You're thinking that I should just join Krishna
Yeah.
consciousness. But it is nice. I chant Hare Krishna. You know, these people are chanting Hare Krishna. It is nice. I shall chant Hare Krishna. I have prasad. You know, I like to give up sinful life. I want to accept initiation and things like that. Then after some time, you may think that, oh, I want to join ashram. Not only you, some brahmachari, they think I want to join ashram. So the ability to maintain brahmacharya, was it there before Krishna consciousness?
No.
It was not there. So that is something which was not there with us, but it came to you. It came to the brahmacharis. How it came from? Because you aspired for it. You wanted that from Krishna. Krishna, can I be brahmachari? You might not have so explicitly told it to Krishna, not like going and standing in front of deity and asking Krishna, can I be brahmachari? It may not be done, but that desire is there. So when the desire is there, then Krishna actually sees, okay, this guy has this desire. Okay, let him, remain brahmachari. Let's give him the ability to maintain brahmacharya. So let him remain brahmachari. So Krishna enables. So that's not wrong to actually see someone and then develop some superior desires. That's not wrong. Okay. And that is very much happens in Krishna consciousness. And it's a good process. That's what we are meant to become. We are meant to be influenced by devotees who are superior to us in Krishna consciousness. That's our aim, that we want it to be like that. Okay. But what is wrong is that I want to be like him because he is famous. I also want to become famous. Okay. He has 50,000 or 1 lakh YouTube follower. I should also have 1 lakh YouTube follower. Now, you want to be like him because you want YouTube follower, or you want to be like him because you want to progress in Krishna consciousness? Now, sometimes you may want both. You may want to be like him because you want to progress in Krishna consciousness, but there may also be the desire. He has 1 lakh YouTube followers. If I also have 1 lakh YouTube followers, it will be nice. So then you may also think that, oh, I am just having this desire to have 1 lakh YouTube followers because I want to preach. This desire to have 1 lakh YouTube followers is not coming from Puja Labha Pratishtha, but it's only coming from a desire to preach. But now that is the thing which is going to be tested. Is it the desire to preach, or is it your attachment to have followers? That is going to be tested. And when that is tested, then as they say in Hindi, like dudh ka dudh, pani ka pani. Okay. So that's what happens. Dudh ka dudh, pani ka pani.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you feel some misery, you feel some, you become disheartened, I am putting YouTube video after YouTube video. And he's having 1 lakh follower, I am having 1,000 follower also, it's not coming for me. Are, kya ho raha hai? Kya dunya hai? Now you become frustrated. No, I don't want YouTube preaching. I will go and do some other preaching. The whole kind of it's like, then the whole drama starts. So then that's an opportunity for us to look, hey, what I was looking for. I was looking for YouTube preaching, or I was looking for all these 1 lakh follower. What I was looking for. I'm just giving an example. It's not exactly, but it's generally example is easier to understand. So that's where we get tested, because Krishna knows which point you press, what pain it will cause. Because Krishna knows everything. So sometimes Krishna presses the pain point, and then causes pain. And when it causes pain, we are meant to know that Krishna is pressing the pain point and is causing pain. Then you look why it is causing pain. Then you go behind that root which causes pain. And you take shelter of association, take shelter of Bhagavatam, tapatraya unmulanam. So that's what we are meant. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So there is one question which is pending. So I should read that. Okay, I'll read it first. Okay, the question was regarding renunciation. So I'll read it. So after I read this, if you still have questions, you can ask. According to Srila Ramanujacharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita 2.55 to 58, there are 4 levels of self-control relevant to the practice of an aspiring transcendentalist. His commentator Vedanta Desika has analyzed these 4 stages in detail. The gist of that analysis is as follows. This is not my work. This is Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu's work. I'm just reading it for you. So, stage 1 of self-control. When a person at this stage sees a worldly desirable object and he recognizes it as a desirable object, and is impulsively attracted to it, so he turns his eyes away from that object to prevent him from enjoying it. This is the stage of endeavor or yatamana. This is the stage of self-control. The spiritualist's mind is not yet under control, and his propensity to enjoy through his senses and mind persists. Stage 2 of self-control. When a person at this stage sees a worldly desirable sense object, he recognizes it as a desirable object, but he is not impulsively attracted to it. Yet he feels slight happiness upon seeing it, though he does not attempt to enjoy that sense object. This is the stage of differentiating the degrees of attraction towards the sense objects. It's called Vetireka. At this stage, the senses have already come under control, but the mind is only partially under control. The spiritualist's propensity to enjoy through his senses and mind is still there. Stage 3 of self-control. When a person at this stage sees a worldly desirable sense object, he recognizes that it is a desirable sense object, but he is neither impulsively attracted to it, nor does he even feel happiness upon seeing it. He does not attempt to enjoy it. At this is the stage of control of internal sense organs, Ekendriya. At this stage, the spiritualist senses and mind have come under full control. His propensity to enjoy through senses and mind remains. Stage 4 of self-control. When a person at this stage sees a worldly desirable sense object, he does not recognize it as a desirable object at all. Therefore, he is not impulsively attracted to it. He does not feel happiness upon seeing it. He does not attempt to enjoy it. At this stage of absolute control of the mind and propensities, it's called Vasikara. The spiritualist senses and mind have come fully under his control, and his propensity to enjoy through the senses and mind has disappeared. Okay. So, is this clear? Does it answer your question, or you want more explanation?
Yes, Prabhuji. You can please pray that I make progress.
Okay. I mean, we should all pray that we all make progress. You should also pray for me, and I should also make progress.
Share this.
Yeah.
Can you share this document?
Yeah, I sent it to Igalesh Sham Prabhu, so he can share it now. It's a very nice document.
Proji.
Yeah.
So one point you're talking about this acceptance, like you're telling that not seeing things from the perspective of what is the will of the Lord in our heart. You're saying that point. So basically inability to see that thing in our heart, that is like hiding, Proji. Is this like hiding? We are not able to see.
No, it just may be some lack of maturity. It need not be some specific defect. It may be just lack of maturity, that you may not be able to see what is the will of the Lord. It normally happens. Many times it happens that something is going around you wrong. Left, right, and center, something is going wrong, and you really cannot make out what is wrong. You really cannot make out what is wrong. And then you have now two options. One option is that you give up what you're doing, or the other option is that you persist. Now, how do you decide whether you give up what you're doing or you persist? That depends on what instructions your superiors give you. If your superiors give you to persist, then you just persist, and then you just tolerate, you just persist, you just tolerate, you persist. And then at some point, things will turn around properly. Then, things will manifest very nicely. I came to Mayapur in 2012, and then I entered into Mayapur management in 2013. And somewhere around 2013 end, management gave me the responsibility of just coordinating the health services in Mayapur. At that time, my responsibility was limited to getting some money for Bhaktivedanta Hospital from the management every month, because Bhaktivedanta Hospital, Mumbai, they had a contract with the Mayapur management that they will actually run the hospital in Mayapur. It was a clinic. They will run the clinic in Mayapur. and they will get some monthly allowance for the maintenance expense of the clinic, etc. So they were not getting it regularly, and they were having a lot of struggle. So they wanted someone to be responsible for it. So then I was the new kid in the block. So therefore they told me that, okay, you become responsible for it. You please make sure that the money goes there. You run around internally here and there, whatever it is, and then you make sure that they get the money. I said, okay. So I got into that, and then for like till 2014, I was doing that service. And then that 2014, the contract between Bhaktivedanta and ISKCON Mayapur more or less came to an end. And then Bhaktivedanta also expressed that it's becoming too much for them. It's other end of India. It's not really feasible, etc. Then they said, okay, we will not be able to continue. We won't be able to make any substantial development here. So if you guys want to do it yourself, you just do it yourself. Then because I was the guy who was just running around basically between them, then management said, okay, you only do. I said, I don't know anything about hospital. I'm a mechanical engineer. Come on, give me a break. I don't know anything about hospital, running a hospital, anything. What do we do? I said, no, you just do it. Okay. So I said, okay, do it. And then for from 2014 to 2020, for 6 years, whatever I tried to do was backfiring. I tried to bring one manager to manage the hospital, very expert, is a lot of experience. And he has very good CV. He has worked with many big names in Kolkata, etc. I bring this guy, I give him nice salary. I bring this guy, and I try to, I took a whole presentation from him. He gave me a business plan. He showed me how to develop the hospital services. He had contacts with doctors. And then, he said that in 2 years, 3 years, we can actually bring the hospital to this level, blah, 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 all those things, And then I hired this guy, and then he ends up asking the receptionist to come and have sex with him. So then I had to fire him. What to do? So then I fired him, and then he was saying that, why are you firing me? I said, hey, you're doing these kind of things. He said, oh, this is all normal. Why are you be interested in business? You don't be interested in my personal life. I said, no, we're interested in business. We are interested in personal life. We are interested in everything. Run away from this place. We don't want to. So then he ran away. So then I thought, okay, now bringing these Karmi fellows is just such a big headache. Let them be qualified and let them go to hell. They're qualified people going to hell. Let us bring some devotee and let's try to run the hospital. So then I brought down one devotee, came on his own accord, and then he said that, I am from this country, I have this experience, that this. I thought, okay, oh, this is Krishna's answer to me. So I put this devotee, and then I tried to run the hospital. And then he ends up having some relationship with one patient. So then again, throw this guy out, and then throw that patient also out, because both of them came, she came from one country, he came from another country, and both of them somehow got attracted to each other. And, it's all chemistry, physics, whatever it is. So you end up throwing both of them out. And then now where you are, you're in ground zero back. Then after that, somebody comes and then they says, okay, we want to invest in the hospital in Mayapur. We want to build the hospital in Mayapur. I thought, oh, this is the answer to my prayer. And then start working with them. And then, they try to do so many things, and management changes in between. And then, the whole thing it goes on for 2 years, 3 years. Then the partners change, this change, that change, agreement change, MOU change. And finally, after 2, 3 years, they say, oh, sorry, we cannot do anything. Now, again, you're back to square one. What will you do? So then I thought, oh, this is not my service. This is somebody else's service. Somebody else should do it. I should not do it, because whatever I do is not working. So then I told that our GBCs, every day I told them, see, this doesn't look like my service. Whatever I try to do is not working. So please take the service away from me. Give it to somebody who is competent. And then there are already some people who are saying, oh, kick this guy out. He's not doing anything. We want to take it. We want to do it. So then I said, okay, very good. So I called all of them and then said, okay, I will get kicked out myself. You guys do it. So then they actually said, no, you only do it. You are just saying something, but we are not serious about it. So then they also go away. So then what do I do? I just left with it. And then suddenly things turn. Like, it's nothing to do with me. Suddenly one person turns up and then he comes and tells me that, see, I want to give you some donation. Will you take it? I said, yeah, why not? Give donation. ISKCON is there for taking donation. That's one thing we do very nicely. Anybody gives any donation, we take it. Whether 5 rupees or 50 rupees or 100 rupees, we don't mind. We are there for taking donation. This is our expertise. This is our core competency. How to take donation. So we do it. Then he gave me a big donation. And when I saw that donation check, I was like fainting because I never seen like more than 3 zeros together. I have never seen. So then I was already fainting by seeing that donation. And then he gave me donation. Then I did some things with that. And then somebody came and joined. Some doctors came and joined. They said, okay, I was preaching to some doctors, telling them that, oh, please come here, join. So they came and joined. And then COVID came. And COVID came, then everybody started talking about healthcare, hospital, that, this, and then, whole world is talking about this. Somebody put some message in Facebook. Then some donation is coming from here and there. I don't know from where donation is coming. Then, so people are donating. Some money is coming from here. Some money is coming from there. That time, anyway, we don't have time to think about what is happening because you are having a situation which is so serious and you don't have time to think about it. You don't even have time to stand and think that, oh, money is coming. You're running behind, okay, this person should not die, that person should not die, this person is breathing, that person, what is O2, SpO2, that CpO2, whatever, you're running here, there, here, and then after 2 years of running, then you stand and then take a breath and then you look at what has happened and suddenly you're left with some money. And I think, hey, there's some money here. Where did this money come from? It came from somewhere. And then this guy who gave the donation originally, he comes and tells me that, do you mind building a hospital in Mayapur? I can give you a lot of money. I'm thinking, hey, where were you? 6 years I am running behind this hospital like a madman. Where were you, man? Now you are coming and telling me that I want to give you money. Anyway, okay, give money. So he gave some money. So we are building some hospital. I'm just saying that why I told you the story is not because I am some big man or something. I told you the story to say that what you are is immaterial. This is why I told you the story. It is immaterial what you are. When Krishna wants things to happen, he will arrange for everything himself. What you are is immaterial. You may be the most incompetent person sitting there. But when Krishna wants things to happen, he will arrange everything himself. But as long as your seniors, your authorities are telling you to stick to something, you better stick to something and try to do something. You move your hands, legs, you do what you have to do, you do it. You do it. And when Krishna wants, everything will become auspicious. That's it. Everything will become auspicious. So therefore, one should accept one's inability to do things, and one should at the same time remain, I'm using the same word again, resilient to whatever happens, as long as devotees who are more mature than you are simply guiding you to do what you are doing. Then you just be duty bound. You do what you have to do. Krishna will take care. He will do what he wants to do. You do what you want to do, he will do what he wants to do. And when Krishna does what he wants to do, be careful not to take any credit for it. Because people will come and give credit. Now people come and tell me, oh, Prabhuji, you are developing the hospital very nicely. You're coming over very nice. I always tell them, I got nothing to do with this. I am just like a witness. I'm just standing. Like you are standing and watching, I'm also standing and watching. We both are same. Only thing I am watching more closely, you're watching from little distance. That's it. We both are witness to what is happening. So that's the point, that sometimes you may not know what is Krishna's will, but just because people who are more qualified than you are telling you to persist, you just persist. And then you do what you have to do. In the process, you may get kicked, you may get criticized, you may get so many things might happen. Even now, regularly, I get kicked, criticized, or whatever it is. It's okay. Uh, it's okay. I mean, we dealt with this before. You should just see what you can do with that criticism. You should do something with it. Like when the whole endeavor to actually get some investors to build the hospital failed, I became very, very clear that Krishna wants ISKCON to develop this hospital. It was very clear to me. It's extremely clear to me. And it also became clear to me, whether it is me or somebody else, the institution should do it. We should not depend on anybody to do it. Because everybody came with good intention, and they were also dealt with good intention. So the whole atmosphere was filled with good intention, and still the whole thing failed. So therefore, it became very clear to me that this is going to be something which we ourselves have to do, whether it is me or anybody else. It has to be done by ourselves. So then you have to then you wait. You just simply wait. You try to do what you have to do your duty, and then wait. And then take a lot of help. And devotees are so willing to help. So when the project started developing, the first thing I did was to go to Bhaktivedanta. I sat with Madhavanand Prabhu. I sat with Shalagram Prabhu. Shalagram Prabhu came here, and then I took him to the hospital, and then he saw. And then he was constantly telling me, come to Bhaktivedanta, come and meet us. Come here, come and meet us. I was telling him, Prabhuji, I am busy. He said, no, you leave everything and you come. I said, okay. I took it as an order from Krishna. I said, okay, good. I left everything. I went there. I stayed there for almost like 5-6 days. And it was like really educative to be there, to meet with them, and to take their experience and to talk to them. So many things became easy after that. So there is guidance, there is help, there is support, there is goodwill. Everything is available. We should be open to take it. We should be open to accept it. We should be open to take it. And as long as our authorities have assigned us some task and they're not kicking us out of it, we should try to do our best. Because sometimes the will of Krishna is expressed through authorities. You can always go and express your doubt. You can always express your reservations. All those things you can do. In spite of that, if your authorities are telling you, okay, man, stick to it, then just stick to it. That's it. Okay. That's it, purport.
In transcendental knowledge, the Lord is addressed as Pranav, Omkar, which is symbolic representation of the Lord in sound. Vasudev, who is an expansion of Narayan, expands himself as Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshan. From Sankarshan comes a second Narayan expansion, and from this Narayan come further expansions of Vasudev, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. The Sankarshan in this group is the original cause, the three Purushas, namely Karodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is situated in every universe in a special planet called Shvetadvipa. Within this universe is a planet called Shvetadvip, where Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is situated. From him come all the incarnations within this universe. The word Matra in its different imports is used to indicate that the decoration of the ear, possession, respect, and the possession of a covering.
Can you please explain this, that how all the incarnations
I can't hear. What is it you
Guruji,
want?
am I audible now?
Yes, yeah.
Guruji, in previous page, on previous page, we read that all the incarnations come from Shirodaksha Vishnu.
Correct, yeah.
So in every manantara, we hear that means is there a difference between the Krishna who comes from Shirodaksha Vishnu and the original Krishna who comes from Golok Vrindavan?
Yeah, when the original Krishna comes from Golok Vrindavan, instead of Krishna coming through every Shirodaksha Vishnu joins Krishna. Prabhupada explains this in the Krishna book. So when the original Krishna comes, all the different Vishnu potencies, they come and join him. Okay. Then he comes the same route, but instead of he coming through Shirodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu is collecting him. He is collecting Shirodaksha Vishnu. He's saying, okay, you also come, man, you also come, you also come, you also come, you also come. Like that, everybody is getting collected together in that Krishna. So Krishna is coming. And then Krishna remains in Vrindavan. And then Vasudeva Krishna goes to Mathura and then Dwaraka, and then he kills demons, and there are different people who are doing different functions. But the original Krishna, he just remains in Vrindavan. He doesn't go out of Vrindavan. He just remains in Vrindavan. But of course, the Vrindavan Vasis cannot see him, so therefore they are feeling separation from him. But he remains in Vrindavan. So Swayam Bhagavan Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So then the rest of other Krishnas, they actually leave Vrindavan, they go, they do so many different things. So that's what happens, that when Krishna comes as Swayam Bhagavan, then all the different expansions, they come and they become one with him. This is like Krishna, when he is coming out of the Sudharma assembly, when Krishna comes out of his assembly, Sudharma, and then when he goes to his palaces, then that one Krishna becomes 16,108 Krishnas. But that cannot be seen by anybody. Like that particular queen is only seeing that her Krishna is coming out, her Krishna is getting into the chariot, and her Krishna is coming to her palace. So she is only seeing one Krishna coming out, getting into the chariot, and then going into the palace. But every queen is seeing one Krishna who is coming out, getting into the chariot, and going to the palace. And every queen is getting one Krishna in their chariot, in their palace. Every queen is getting one Krishna in their palace. And same way, when Krishna comes out from his house, 16,108 Krishnas are coming. Again, you cannot see 16,108 Krishna. Each palace dwellers, they see only one Krishna coming out and one Krishna going. But actually, each of them are seeing their own Krishna coming out and going. And then they're entering. As Krishna enters that assembly hall, all the 16,108 Krishnas become one Krishna, and then that one Krishna enters the assembly hall. Who was able to see it? Narad Muni was able to see it. And when Narad Muni saw this, he silently left. He silently left. They're okay, this is the Supreme Lord, what can I say? And he silently left. That's it. And then Krishna also, with Narad Muni, he had nice time. Every palace Narad Muni would go, Krishna would say, oh, Narad Muni, you come, so nice. When did you come? Please sit. Let's have some respect for you. Let's wash your feet. Let's do this, let's do that. Now, each palace is happening, and Krishna is genuinely doing this in each palace. It's not like, Krishna is making some fake thing. Genuinely Krishna doing it. Narad Muni is thinking, hey, what is this? He doesn't laugh. He becomes very grave. Narad Muni becomes very grave. Why he became very grave? Because actually Krishna is showing him his opulence, which nobody is able to see. Narad Muni is seeing it. So he became very grave. He's saying, oh, he's supreme person. He's doing this. Became very grave. And then he saw this, he saw all this, and then he silently left. Oh, this is Supreme Personality of God. Well, let me go, let me do my service. Silently left. So like that, Krishna collects all the different Vishnus, and then he comes. And then when he goes, all the different Vishnus, they go to the respective places. That's how happens when Swayam Bhagavan comes. But He comes only once in a day of Brahma. So other incarnations, those Krishnas come when they are not Swayam Bhagavan, they come through Shivadaksha Vishnu.
And Prajit, like Narsingh Avatar coming, so Shivadaksha Vishnu becoming Narsingh Dev Bhagavan, or
No,
Lord Narsingha coming from
not like,
Shivadaksha?
it's not like, okay, now let's have Narsingha drama. So, okay, who are you? Okay, you go and dress up like Narsingha Dev. Hey, you go and dress up like Hiranyakashipu. It's not like that. Narsingha Dev is eternally existing in his Vaikuntha. So he's eternally existing in his Vaikuntha. He has his Vaikuntha, he's eternally existing in his Vaikuntha as Narsingha. As Narsingha, Lakshmi Narsingha is there. He's eternally existing in his Vaikuntha. But when he appears through Shivadaksha Vishnu. Through the agency of Shivadaksha Vishnu, he appears. So that's why it is said that he is the source of all incarnations. That's what it is.
Another clarification, Prabhu. Is Shir Sagar
The
existing?
original Krishna from Golok Vrindavan comes how often?
He comes once in a day of Brahma.
Okay, Prajit, thank you.
That's what Jiva Goswami says. I also don't know. I have not seen also. Jiva Goswami says this. He comes once in a day of Brahma. So we accept it.
Prabhu,
Okay.
is Shir
Yeah.
Sagar exists in Shveddeep or Shveddeep exists inside Shir Sagar?
My understanding is that this is like the Shvetadvip, the Shir Sagar is part of it.
Okay.
Just like the oceans are part of this planet, the Shir Sagar is part of the Shvetadvip. So everything is called Shvetadvip. That's the Shir Sagar, and the whole arrangement is called Shvetadvip.
Thank you.
It's not like they are two different entities. It's like the whole arrangement is called Shvetadvip. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
This is a question related to your mentioning about studying Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Na?
Yeah.
So you are mentioning that the difference is there in the sadhana stage, but
Yeah.
in the when one has developed the affection for the Lord, there is no difference between studying Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting of the holy name. But now the thing is that then why among Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that among Tar Madhya Sarvasresh Nam Sankirtan, among all the five. So can you please explain a little more about it? That and even you are mentioning that the concluding verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, that what is the concluding?
Nama Sankirtanam Esa Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranama Dukkha Samanastam Nama Harim Param.
So that chanting of the holy name of the Lord, that finishing of that sinful reaction, is it so significant that sinful reactions are anyway finished, but ultimate goal is to achieve love for Krishna.
Yeah,
So,
Pranama
so
Namami Harim Param, Pranama Dukkha Samanas.
Yeah.
That means that all the miseries go away. Means that you are already with Krishna. That's when all the miseries go away.
So first thing I want to ask that like in the sadhana stage you are mentioning that Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the whole, they are different. Means we sadhana, but on the siddha, on the perfection, when one has developed perfection, they are the same. So but still we see that all the perfecters, they are continuously chanting the holy name of Lord in the in the even the acharyas in the later part, they are continuously taking shelter of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So
Right.
can you please explain?
Because chanting the holy name is Yuga Dharma. Okay, it is Yuga Dharma. So therefore, Yuga Dharma prevails. Okay, so therefore, when there is no difference between Bhagavatam and chanting the holy name, then chanting the holy name takes over, because that is Yuga Dharma. We are supposed to do Namashraya Bhakti. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, that we are supposed to do Namashraya Bhakti. Means that we are supposed to do Bhakti by taking shelter of the holy name. Okay, because that is the process which is given for this Yuga. So therefore, naturally, the process for the Yuga will take over everything. So, but at the sadhana stage, then we have to study Bhagavatam, we have to chant the holy name, we have to do both. Because by studying Bhagavatam, our faith in chanting the holy name will increase. By chanting the holy name, our taste for studying Bhagavatam will increase. Now, what is Bhagavatam? What is Bhagavatam?
Bhagavatam is glorification of Lord and his devotees.
I mean, Bhagavatam is just relationship between his Lord and his devotees. It just all the pastimes the Lord executed with his devotees is Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
This is Bhagavatam. Okay. Now you take Brahma Samhita verse, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadev Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So what these people are seeing? What they are seeing? They are seeing Bhagavatam. That's what Krishna is doing. Krishna is interacting with his devotees.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. They are not just seeing Krishna standing there. They are not just seeing Krishna standing there and then not doing anything. You know, Krishna is not like Paramatma. He is simply standing there. Paramatma is standing there. He is not doing anything. He has Shankara Chakra Gada Padma. He has Mandahasa. And he is just simply standing there on the lotus. And he is just smiling. But they are not seeing Paramatma. They are seeing Krishna. And Krishna is not a person who will just stand. Krishna is actually interacting with devotees. He is busy with his different interaction with his devotees. So that's what they are seeing. And what is that? That is Bhagavatam. So these people are simply seeing Bhagavatam. We are reading Bhagavatam, they are seeing Bhagavatam. Okay.
Yes.
And while seeing Bhagavatam, they are chanting the holy name. And there is some connection between Bhagavatam and the holy name. Because there are 8 pairs in the holy name. And those 8 pairs in the holy name, it actually corresponds to the 8 different pastimes of the Lord. So therefore, everything is there in the holy name. So when the difference between Bhagavatam and the holy name is no longer there, then simply by relishing the holy name, which is Yuga Dharma, they are actually seeing Bhagavatam. So that means you cannot say that they are not reading Bhagavatam. You are reading Bhagavatam because you cannot see it. Right?
Yes.
But if you are seeing it, then that's as good as reading. Is it not?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So in no stage the holy name exists without Bhagavatam, and in no stage Bhagavatam exists without holy name. Okay. In sadhaka stage, in sadhana stage, they exist as 2 different things which are actually coming together. Nama Sankirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Srimurti Shraddhaya Sevaya, association, Matravas, all these things are coming together. As different entities, they are coming together. Okay. But at the Siddha stage, all these entities have just become one, which is chanting the holy name. And in the process of chanting the holy name, everything is happening. It's not that they're not happening. It's not that, okay, they have stopped everything and then they are doing only this. That's the misconception. Because we are thinking that this is different, that is different, that is different, this is different. And then we externally see that they are only chanting the holy name. So we are thinking, oh, these guys have stopped everything and then they are saying the holy name. They are just chanting the holy name. But no, they are chanting the holy name, and within the holy name, they are doing everything else. So Mahaprabhu says that if you want to understand Bhagavatam, you should become mad like me. So, what is Mahaprabhu's madness? Mahaprabhu is telling Ishwarapuri, what kind of mantra you have given me? I am chanting this mantra, I am becoming mad. So this is Mahaprabhu's madness. That is constantly chanting the holy name. That is his madness. And then he is saying that if you want to understand Bhagavatam, you have to become mad like me. So that means there is intrinsic connection between Bhagavatam and the holy name. And that connection is not visible for us at this stage. So we should pray for a stage where that connection becomes visible. That's the whole purpose of sadhana. That's the whole purpose of reading Bhagavatam. That's the whole purpose of chanting the holy name. That's the whole purpose of doing Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, doing different services and all these things. So that's the whole purpose, that we want to come to a stage where everything is experienced within the holy name. Okay.
Yes,
Okay, let's continue.
However,
What happened to our reading?
Krishna, Krishna.
I see the
However,
mic.
because the body of the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge, it needs no covering. The idea that Krishna's body is like ours, in other words, that his body and soul are different is a misunderstanding. Here we receive material bodies because of a lack of knowledge. But because Krishna, Vasudev, is full of knowledge, there is no difference between his body and his soul. Krishna remembers what he said 40 million years ago to the sun god. But an ordinary being cannot remember what he said the day before yesterday. This is the difference between Krishna's body and our body. Vignaya Matraya Paramananda Murtaye. Because the Lord's body is full of knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental bliss. Indeed, his very form is Paramananda. Atma Ramaya. He does not need to search for external enjoyment because he is self-sufficient. Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaye. In our conditioned life, our bodies have different parts. But although Krishna apparently has different bodily parts, no part of his body is different from any other part. Krishna can see with his eyes, and Krishna can see without his eyes. Therefore, in the Shveta Svatara Upanishad, it is said, Pashyati Achakshusha.
The Brahma Samhita also says, Aganyasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti. Prabhupada quotes that also. Later part of the book. Okay, please continue.
Lord is always blissful, whereas the conditioned soul is always under the threefold miseries of the material world. The Lord's body is transcendental, spiritual, but because the conditioned soul has a material body, he has many bodily and mental troubles. The conditioned soul is always perturbed by attachment and detachment, whereas the Supreme Lord is always free from such dualities. The Lord is the supreme master of all the senses, whereas the conditioned soul is controlled by the senses. The Lord is the greatest, whereas the living entity is the smallest. The living entity is conditioned by the waves of material nature, but the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all actions and reactions. The expansions of the Supreme Lord's body are innumerable, Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Ananta Rupam. But the conditioned soul is limited to only one form. This means that the bodies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no beginning and no end, unlike the bodies of the living entities.
So therefore, this is all nice preaching points which are there. We can actually enlist these points when you're preaching about the difference between the Supreme Lord and us. It's a nice, nice good points for preaching. Okay, please read.
Red hot iron can burn, but it cannot burn the original fire. Therefore, the consciousness of the small particle of Brahman is fully dependent on the power of the Supreme Brahman.
Is this understood? Is analogy understood?
Yes.
It's a very simple but very powerful analogy. The fire heats the iron and it gives the iron the ability to burn. But the iron cannot burn the fire itself because the iron is dependent on the fire for its burning ability. So therefore, similarly, the individual jiva can never become the Supreme Lord. By association with the Aladini Sakti of the Supreme Lord, the individual jiva can actually remain in his constitutional position, which has the same quality as the Supreme Lord. But that doesn't become that the individual jiva has become the Supreme Lord. Just like the fire does not become, the iron does not become fire, even though it has actually attained the burning quality due to its association with the fire. The moment the association with the fire is not there, the iron will start losing its burning quality. Same way, the moment the jiva becomes Vahirmukha, he will lose his ability to actually experience his Sachidananda position. Very simple but very powerful analogy. Okay.
In other words, he is the only seer, the only worker, the only listener, and the only active principle of supreme controller.
So this is because the Lord himself is Adhyatmika, Adibhotika, and Adidevika manifestations is caused by the Lord's external energy. So in that sense, he is the only seer. The jiva remains the seen. That's why we sing Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patakami Bhavatune. So let me come in the line of sight of Lord Jagannath. So because we are supposed to be seen, we are not the seer. We are supposed to be seen. And we are not the enjoyer, because the seer is the enjoyer. You see it, you want to enjoy it. But when you are seen, that means that is the object of enjoyment. Like you take the example of gulab jamun. You are the seer, so you want to become the enjoyer of the gulab jamun. You see that there is a gulab jamun, and you want to put it in your mouth, and then you want to enjoy it, because you are the seer. So you want to be the enjoyer. The gulab jamun is the seen. So therefore, that is what is enjoyed. So the man sees a woman, and then he thinks, oh, this woman is very nice. So he is thinking that I should enjoy this woman. The woman sees the man, and she is thinking, oh, this man is very nice, so I should enjoy this man. So both of them are having Purusha Bhava. Even though it looks like one is the enjoyer and the other one is the enjoyed, but they both are thinking I should enjoy. So therefore, in this material world, everyone is imitating the Purusha Bhava. So everyone wants to be the seer, nobody wants to be the seen. But Krishna consciousness means accepting that I am the person who is seen and Krishna is the seer. So when you go to the temple to see the deity, you go to be seen by the deity. You don't go to see the deity. You present yourself because you want Krishna to actually see you. Krishna, here I am. I am waiting for you to see me. I'm waiting for you to give me some service. And I'm ready. I have presented myself. So that's what it is. Like, early in the morning, sometime, all these police people, they go and stand in the parade. And then some senior officer, he comes and sees all of them. And then he says, okay, parade, you run, parade, you take the gun and you do this exercise, you do that, you do that. So like that, early morning, we are all going and standing in front of the deity to be seen. Yes, one more day we are ready for service. So where should we run? What we should do? What is our allotment today? So we should go in front of the deity with this mood that the Lord is the seer and I am the one to be seen. He is the enjoyer. I am the one to be enjoyed. So I am offering myself for Krishna's enjoyment. I am offering myself for this. So we should go in that mood. So accepting him as the active principle in everything. Okay, please read.
The previous verses describe the Brahman and Paramatma features of the absolute truth. Now this prayer is offered in Bhakti Yoga to the absolute supreme person. The devotees who also have lotus feet serve the lotus feet of the Lord with their lotus hands. The devotees may sometimes not be competent to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is addressed as Parama Paramestin. He is the supreme person, yet he is very kind to the devotees. No one is competent to serve the Lord, but even if a devotee is not competent, the merciful Lord accepts the humble attempt of the devotee.
Yeah, so that's why Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Upakritam Ashnami Priyatatmanaha. I'm sure you all wrote an essay in Bhakti Shastri that how, it is very easy to perform devotional service based on the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure you all wrote this essay. Why we write this essay? For us to give this realization that even though we are not competent to serve Krishna, Krishna is willing to accept that service. That is Krishna's most merciful nature. To appreciate that merciful nature, we are writing that essay. By writing that essay, we are meant to contemplate on the most merciful nature of Krishna. That this is an opportunity for me to contemplate that Krishna is so merciful that he becomes so easily available for us. Even though we are not competent enough to serve him, he becomes so easily available for us. Not only he becomes easily available for us, he becomes easily satisfied by us. It's one thing to be available, the other thing is to be satisfied. Somebody may be available that he may not be satisfied. He may think, what to do? These guys are calling me, so I have to go there. Okay. He may be like that. He may be available. He may extend himself, but he may not be satisfied. And it is one thing to be satisfied, and the other thing is to actually be loving. So satisfied is still neutral. Okay, jo diya so diya, I'm satisfied ho gaya, bas ho gaya. But Priyatatmanaha, so there is some exchange of love. That's more than just being satisfied. So Krishna is available, Krishna is satisfied, and Krishna wants to exchange love. He wants to do all the three on simple things. A little water, a little leaf, little flower, little fruit. So, therefore, he is called as Parameshtin. Okay. Please read.
When Angira had first come to visit King Chitraketu, he did not bring Narad with him. However, after the death of Chitraketu's son, Angira brought Narad to instruct King Chitraketu about Bhakti Yoga. It is only at this stage that Bhakti Yoga can be instructed. As long as one is attached to material enjoyment, Bhakti Yoga cannot be understood. As long as one is very much attached to material enjoyment, one cannot concentrate his mind on the subject matter of devotional service. The Krishna consciousness movement is progressing successfully in the Western countries at the present moment because the youth in the West have reached the stage of Vairagya or renunciation. They are practically disgusted with material pleasure from material sources. And this has resulted in a population of hippies throughout the Western countries. Now, if these young people are instructed about Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, the instructions will certainly be effective. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidya and Bhakti Yoga are parallel lines. One is essential for understanding the other. Advancement in devotional service or Krishna consciousness is characterized by increasing renunciation of material enjoyment.
Prabhupada gives the analogy of reducing fever. In Ishopanishad, Prabhupada gives the analogy of reducing fever. The fever has to be reduced. Okay, please read.
The instructions were extremely effective. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Narad Muni is certainly a pure devotee.
So, therefore, this is also good warning to us that we may come to Krishna consciousness, we may take up different positions in Krishna consciousness, but as long as the tendency to enjoy material substances or to enjoy the material world is there, it is difficult to become serious in Krishna consciousness. To the extent it is there, to that extent we will always remain deficient. So therefore, we should carefully work on it. Make sure that the tendency to enjoy material life, it doesn't exist. So that's why, that 4 stages of self-control is quite useful. So, how do we deal with sense objects and how do we deal with circumstances? This is something which we should carefully contemplate on. Sometimes when we think of statements like this, like Bhogeshwarya Prasattanam Taya Apavita Chetasam Vyasatmika Buddhi Samadhana Vidyate, we think, yeah, we are almost done with it. We are we are devotees, we are doing so much service, I'm brahmachari or I'm a full-time devotee or I'm retired or whatever it is. We think, okay, so much service, this is all to these karmi fellows who are going on the streets. They're not able to become Krishna conscious. But sometimes we need to contemplate on this also, that what is actual Krishna consciousness? what is actual Krishna consciousness? The actual Krishna consciousness, like Prabhupada writes on letter, that in doing so many services, we are actually forgetting our main business. What is the main business? The main business is to become mad after Krishna. That's our main business. Our main business is to become mad after Krishna. So are we progressing towards that main business? That are we becoming mad after Krishna? Or are we becoming mad at Krishna? Sometimes we may become mad at Krishna. Hey Krishna, what are you doing with me? Why are you doing this to me? We become mad at Krishna. We're not going mad after Krishna. That's our main business. Our main business is to become mad after Krishna. So doing all these different services, doing all the different things, it's meant to create a certain absorption in Krishna, which actually leads to missing Krishna as a person. So that's what we should look at. Then am I missing Krishna as a person? Or am I just doing my services and I'm like comfortable in my place and I'm thinking, okay, oh, everything is nice. How are you? Everything is nice. Everything is good. Things are going on very nicely. Now somebody is asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how are you? Then I'm saying, Yuga idam nimeshana chakshusha pravarshayakam shunya idam jagatsavam govinda virayam. What is there in this material world? Nothing is there. I can't see anything in this material world. The whole place is shunya. So, Krishna consciousness is meant to take us there. We may not be there, but at least we should think about it. I am meant to be there. What am I doing here? So, if I am not there, then there's something of the shloka which is still holding me. Bhogeshwarya prasattanam taya aparita chetasam vyasatmaka buddhi samadhana vidyate. Something from this shloka is holding me. So what is holding me? Then we need to do some introspection and whatever it is. Yes, okay.
If a devotee, after being initiated, adheres rigidly to the instructions of the spiritual master, he is naturally endowed with the material opulences of Vidyadhar Adhipatyam and similar posts as byproducts. Devotional service alone is competent to award a devotee all material power. A pure devotee, however, is never attached to material power, although he gets it very easily without personal endeavor. When a devotee is actually engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, his apparently material opulences are not material, they're all spiritual. For example, if a devotee spends money to construct a beautiful and costly temple, the construction is not material but spiritual. Nothing in devotional service is material, everything is spiritual. Consequently, a devotee is awarded so-called material opulence for spiritual advancement. This opulence is an aid to help the devotee advance toward the spiritual kingdom. Worshipping Vishnu can get whatever he likes. Maharaj Chitraketu wanted only to return home back to Godhead, and therefore he achieved success in that way.
Oh, there's some nice explanation of the Lord's form. Very beautiful shlokas. We don't have time to read. Okay. In the material world, we are bound by time.
Darshana Dhavatasmasta Kalbisha is very important in this verse. If one regularly sees the Supreme Personality of God in the temple, one will gradually be disinfected of all material desires simply by visiting the temple and seeing the deity. When one is freed from all the results of sinful activities, one will be purified. And with a healthy mind completely cleansed, he will increasingly make progress in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, so that is the requirement to make progress in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay, please read.
All the letters of the alphabet and the words constructed by those letters are meant for offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
It's a very important point. So this is also expressed in Bhagavatam first canto. Said Navachas Chitrapadam Harir Yasho Jagat Pavitram Pravurnita Kalhichit Tadvayasham Tirtam Mushanti Manasana Yatra Hamsana Ravanti Shikshayaha. So the 64 art forms they're actually originally meant for exchange of pastimes between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Okay, that's what they're meant for. They're not meant for anything else. That's how the 64 art forms came. And the different Sakhis are experts in different art forms of the 64 art forms. And Radharani is the expert practitioner of the 64 art forms. And Krishna is the reservoir of the 64 art forms. Krishna is Kalanidhi, Radharani is Kalavati. And then the different Sakhis, they have different abilities. But all of them are simply there to facilitate the pastimes between Radha and Krishna. So when they are reflected in the material world as perverted reflection in mode of goodness, then people in mode of goodness simply start using these 64 art forms for their sense gratification. So they write some nice poetry and then everybody's appreciating, wow, 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 wow. Okay. And then, or they're going to some dance program and then they're shaking their head and then they're saying, yes, 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 very beautiful dance, very beautiful dance. Or they go to some classic music concert and then say, like this, they say, this is all perversion in mode of goodness. Because they are utilizing what originally is meant as the tools for pastime between Radha and Krishna, they are utilizing for their sense gratification. Of course, it is mode of goodness. But still, it is simply not meant for sense gratification. So here also Prabhupada is mentioning that that all the letters, words, and the combination of those words to make sentences and the combination of all those sentences according to various grammatical formations to make poetry is all there simply to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, so with this meditation, we'll stop today. Our time is already up. We are still behind. I thought of covering more verses, but it's okay. Whatever it is, should be satisfied. So we'll continue tomorrow. Same time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Granth Rajman Bhagavatam ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.